Hey, and we are live here, Central Park, New York City. Chaim Bar-Chalevsky, and running commentary number 77. What's unique about this is not just the number 77, which is like similar to 770, but what's unique about this is that I'm running with my Facebook Live mascot right over here. First time ever, we're doing a live run with Mendel. This is Mendel, and he just fell asleep. Mendel Sapuchkinsky, son of my daughter and son-in-law, Shana and Eliyahu. He's about 1 year old, and we've been going on runs together for a while now. So me and Mendel and I, this is a feat because I'm holding a stick in one hand and pushing a stroller in the other. So let it not go unnoticed. Okay, so let's get to the point over here. And if Mendel wakes up, he'll say hello. But for now, we'll just say a quick hi. Okay. So, coming from the Kinus HaShluchos, I want to first mention my wife and 3,000 other Chabad women just gathered together for an incredible weekend, a few days together. And in the link above this one, on my Facebook page, you could see the incredible presentations that they shared that are moving and informative and enlightening. And my favorite story of this year was the one about the woman, the shlucha in Venice, who saved the day and who saved the soul and transformed a person who is now transforming others through her sensitivity, incredible sensitivity and wisdom on the holiest day of the year, on Yom Kippur. Check it out. Hear the story from the source about the Yom Kippur in Venice. And now we're going to dive right into this week's running commentary, which is Parshas Mishpatim. And I'm going to do Sikha number 5, the talk of the Rebbe about this week's Torah portion, which the Rebbe asks many questions on the Rashi about the story about the slave, the Jewish man who sold himself into slavery because he stole, or because he was too poor and he couldn't make a living, so he sold himself into slavery, or because he stole and was unable to repay that which he stole. So the court of law in the olden days would sell this man as a slave, and he would be a slave for 6 years. And the Torah says, after 6 years he would go free. So the Torah says, what happens if the person would say, I love my master and my new family, and I want to stay as a slave? And long story short, the biblical requirement was to bring the man's ear to the doorpost and the door, and to pierce his ear, and that he can stay. So the Rebbe asks many questions about this, and quoting Rashi, who quotes the Midrash. Long story short, the culmination of it, we're going to talk about, just answer 3 questions. Why the ear? Why the door? And why the piercing after 6 years? So, why the ear? Because the ear heard, the Rashi tells us, at Mount Sinai, God said, do not steal. And therefore this person went ahead and stole. So sort of a consequence for the ear that wasn't listening properly. And then the next question is why the door? It's a similar idea. The door and the doorpost is where God passed over the doors and the doorpost in Egypt of the Jewish people, saying, you are my slaves, not anyone else's. And this man sold himself into slavery. So the question becomes, if that is the case, then why wait 6 years for the piercing. Why not pierce the person's ear right after he steals, or right after he's sold into slavery, or he sells himself into slavery? Why wait those 6 years? That's a question that the Rebbe answers in a beautiful way with a relevant lesson. And he says that sometimes people do things out of desperation. And a person stole or he sold himself. He was kind of desperate. And it was seriously, truly a desperate situation for him. Otherwise he wouldn't do it. But then he had 6 years to mend his ways and to think about it. And now he's being offered an opportunity to go free. And now, if he says, I want to stay in slavery, so that demonstrates that he hasn't been cured from his attitude that it's a wrong thing to do and it's a wrong place to be. And what's the larger attitude? The attitude is that God says, I am your master. You should have no other masters. And you should also rely on God for our sustenance, for our work, for our livelihood. And when a person steals and is sold into slavery, and when a person is so poor that he sells himself into slavery, a person is demonstrating that he doesn't trust God to be able to feed him and his family and take care of them. And that's the problem. And that's why we wait till after 6 years when a person has an opportunity to go free and he doesn't take that opportunity. And he says, oh, he needs to learn that it's God is the true master, not anyone or anything else. And the Rebbe takes a lesson from this for us in our regular work week, those of us who are fortunate enough even to do relatively well. And the Rebbe says, look at your work week and see, are you working in order to make money, in order to survive, in order to thrive? And do you see your work as the means to your sustenance? Or do you see God as the provider? And one of the mitzvahs that God gave us is to work in order to make money and provide for our families. There's a big difference, says the Rebbe, that we shouldn't be slaves to our work. We shouldn't be serving our work. Our work should be serving us. And the practical difference in the attitude is that if somebody's approach to work is that, oh, I need my work in order to make the money, and they are sort of a slave to the work, then they'll never really be able to rest from it. And even when Shabbat comes, they'll be constantly thinking about the work will be on their mind. But if a person's attitude and perspective is that God provides everything. God provides livelihood, sustenance, parnasah. And one of the mitzvot God instructed me is to work, to make money for the family. Then the work itself is a secondary. It's not a binding need. It's just a mitzvah. It's one of the mitzvahs, not just a mitzvah. It's one of the ways we connect to God is through our work. Then when we come to Shabbos, we're able to truly rest on Shabbos, have a tranquil, holy, peaceful Shabbos, and that way our whole week is elevated and dedicated to God in a special way. That's the story for today. Say hello to Mendel again. So I've been running with Mendel. Mendel is fast asleep. I think he likes learning Torah too, but he's listening through his neshama. It's my first running commentary with a stroller. Central Park, New York City. God bless you all. Take care.